Okay, so how to remove a Honda B series or D series engine, that is, from any Honda 92 to 2000. The only differences we'll cover during the video, but there's very few. Obviously, initially you want to jack it up, get it up in the air, get the wheels off, and then first things first, you want to disconnect the battery. On an EK, you're going to want to fully remove the battery and the battery tray because you're going to need to get under that to disconnect the loom. Going to take off the drive shaft nuts, which is a 32mm, using a screwdriver to keep it still. And then we're going to get the shift linkage. Obviously, this is easier with two hands, popping off the little metal clip or cover, whatever you want to call it. And then we're moving on to what's known as the bitch pin. So you're going to want a 6mm punch and a little lump hammer. I tried to use a little claw hammer initially and it just was not budging, so I went and got a much heavier hammer. But this is the pin taken out. And then you can see there's my 6mm punch, and then a slightly smaller punch as well once I got it moving. It sat on the lip better. And then a heavy hammer. Then you want to remove the 12mm that holds the linkage at the front. Then moving on to the rear engine mount. So I normally use a wobbly joint and then a load of long extensions to get to it there. Some people do it from under the car, it just whatever works for you. You can see 1/2 inch, long wobbly, and then just getting it going like that. I'm then going to remove the lower ball joint and the track rod end so I can then get the shafts out. Track rod end's nice and easy, you just beat it and it comes off. Lower ball joint, I like to put the jack under the disc to push it up a little bit and then smack the lower arm because then it wants to pop out of it rather than the weight of the hub keeping it sat into it. Now you can see it's just lifted straight out there once I'd given it a few hits. And then you got the bolt that goes through the bottom of the shock into the arm. You want to get that out of the way so then you can knock that shaft out and pull it out the bottom of that fork on the bottom of the shock. I did have to use a lever bar on the drive shaft itself to pop it out of the gearbox. Now I'm just removing like the strap brace, airbox, just so I can get to stuff a lot easier. I then disconnected the loom either side. On EGs, MBCs, DC2s, all that sort of stuff, you can just pop it off on either shock tower. On the EKs, it's got to be one shock tower, and then in the where the ECU is, you need to disconnect it there. Just taking off the earthing strap, getting the rad out the way. There's 2 earth straps, one each side. And then disconnecting stuff like the plugs on this side. I'm disconnecting the 10mm that hold the power steering line on. I'm disconnecting from the fuse box here the feeds for like back alternator and stuff like that. You can see power steering line is off now because obviously that's connected to the subframe and the rack. Also disconnected the fuel feed from the filter and the fuel return, and obviously clutch line as well, throttle cable, really easy to remove. My AC system was still gassed, so I had to take the AC pump off of the engine and just let it hang there. You can see all the plugs that are disconnected here. You can also see that fuel return, which is disconnected. That engine's rocking because it's only held by the 2 mounts now. This front mount and this gearbox mount. The torque mounts, I've removed them as well. You can see my subframe is off because I need that for another car. But you can just see everything that's disconnected. The exhaust, the 2 bolts there. The torque mount, they're off. I would recommend doing everything under the car first. You don't want to be going under the car after there's coolant everywhere and stuff like that. You want to get out of the way and then move up. So now I'm putting a supermarket trolley or skates underneath the engine and gearbox, and I'm dropping the car down onto it. Once that's taken the load, then you can whip out gearbox mount, which is nice and easy. And then obviously a cam side mount as well. And then it's just sat on that dolly. And then you've just got to mess around with getting the car high enough so you can slide it out from underneath. On scrap ones before, I've just cut the slam panel off to make it a bit easier. But where I was, I didn't have access to power and stuff like that, really. So you can see, I'm trying to use the jack. I'm just shuffling it to get the mounts to release. I couldn't get the car high enough. So I had to stack up wheels and stuff like that to get it up. And this is where it becomes a little bit sketchy. You're going to make sure that nobody is underneath the car. Make sure you've got enough wheels under the car as well in case it did slip. Because obviously the jack wants to move, but because it's stacked up on wheels, it can't. So it kind of slides around and moves a bit weird. But you can see I've got it high enough now. I'm just going to shuffle it around to pull that engine and gearbox out. You don't have to use the supermarket trolley skates. You can just slide it on the floor and jimmy it back and forth, which again I've done before, but just a little bit easier this way. So you can see obviously there's no subframe on this, and there's no front hubs on this, and there's no rear hubs on this. You don't have to do that. I just needed them off the car anyway. And it just gives me a little bit more access because I'm actually scrapping this shell because it's just beyond rotten. And that's it. That's how to remove a B series, D series, even H from a Honda without using a lift, just using a jack and some wheels.